Success is just a client walking in the door. It's really hard to call somebody and say, I need help. When they come in, if they feel like this is a person I feel connected with and they build on that therapeutic relationship, so much can happen.
Welcome to episode 57 of the LoraineCounty.com Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Ed Skimmon. Special thanks to the LoraineCounty.com champion sponsors who make this podcast possible. Lorain County Commissioners, Emerge Inc., Lorain County JVS, Lorain County Community College, WOBL Radio, and Community Foundation of Lorain County. Today, we're talking with Shaina Duffy, owner of Phoenix Counseling Center. Join us as Shaina talks about the mental health services her team provides, including telehealth, EMDR therapy, and counseling for anxiety, depression, trauma, and more. She shares her insights into current trends in mental health, what inspired her to start the center, and how she supports both clients and clinicians. Over the past year and a half, we've had the opportunity to work closely with Shaina, supporting the redevelopment and ongoing maintenance of our office operations software. In the process, I've learned more about medical billing, insurance systems, and the behind-the-scenes challenges of running a mental health practice than I ever expected. What is clear is the dedication that Shaina brings to her work. The mental health services that Phoenix provides, whether through EMDR, telehealth, or in-person counseling, are vital. They help individuals navigate trauma, anxiety, and depression, offering not just care, but hope and healing. Here is my conversation with Shaina Duffy.
My name is Shaina Duffy, and I'm the owner of the Phoenix Counseling Center here in North Ridgeville, but we also have a location in Westlake as well. I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor, and I've been doing this for what feels like 35,000 years, but I think it's 13.
Welcome, Shaina. Thanks for joining us and sharing your insights. Could you provide an overview of the Phoenix Counseling Services?
Thank you for having me. We provide mental health counseling to people in need. And the bonus behind telehealth is that as long as you're in Ohio, we can see you. So you can be in a land far away from us, but we can still see you via telehealth. But we work with children as young as 2 to adults all the way up. And we work with anxiety, depression, grief, trauma, eating disorders. We have EMDR therapists on staff, sex therapists on staff. We are LGBTQ affirming. So anything we can do to try to help the community, that's what we do.
Can you talk about the different services that you provide and the individuals and families you normally serve?
There are so many different types of services, but they also overlap. So, for example, I work with couples, but you might see trauma within the marriage because every person comes in with their own stuff. So then one person in that relationship might also need to see a trauma therapist as well. And anything that has an underlying diagnosis. So if you're dealing with family issues, we have family therapy as well. EMDR, it's huge in terms of helping people with trauma. So we're really excited to have EMDR therapists on staff. And we have many that are going for certification in that as well.
What is EMDR?
So it's eye movement desensitization reprocessing, which sounds like a lot. It should not be as intimidating as it can sound, but it's fantastic because especially in the early years, bad things happen. Memories form and then they start shaping our belief systems. So for example, you might have felt like the black sheep of the family. You might have felt ignored or that your voice wasn't heard. And you have very specific memories that reinforce that belief system for you. But we live in a world where it's like, oh, forget about it. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and don't pay attention to it. But then that shapes your belief system. And then you're in relationships with friends or a significant other. And something happens where you don't feel heard or seen. And it's reinforcing all of those belief systems. And when you dig into it, you recognize that a lot of that formed when you were younger. And then going through EMDR, you're able to reprocess what happened to you and reshape it so it doesn't have the kind of hold that it had on you before. But it also brings about a lot of revelation. I didn't recognize that I felt this way because when I dig back into my life, this is where this belief system about myself was formed. So it's pretty powerful and it does a lot when people are trying to get through trauma that's happened in their life.
How many counselors do you have and what are their range of specialties?
We just hired some. I think we're at 24 right now. And everybody has a buffet of specialties. Anxiety and depression, I think, is every therapist's bread and butter. You come out of school ready to work with that. But then we have people, like I said, who specialize with trauma or special certifications like sex therapy, because that's additional education that you need to go in and get certified in. For example, I work with couples. Not everybody works with couples. The same way I'm not trained to work with children. So you find with your continued education hours where your specialties lie. So everybody's listed on our website and their bios are there. So if you're looking for somebody, everybody's listed and you can type in like, hey, I need help with eating disorders. For example, we have a therapist who came from the Emily program. So she's very well trained with eating disorders, understands how to work with them, but that's a specialty. That's not just something that you come out of school with.
How do you define success at Phoenix Counseling Center? What metrics or outcomes are important to you and your team?
Well, success, I think, is different for all of us, especially because I'm the owner. Success is like, hey, the building hasn't burnt down today. That's awesome. I think success for us is seeing movement with our clients. There's not a specific pace. I think that's the confusion that a lot of clients have too, is that I need to graduate therapy. I need to be done with therapy. And I think about therapy as like having a fantastic mechanic. When you have a good mechanic, you keep them. It doesn't matter where you go. You're like, this person's honest. I trust them. And the same thing with your therapist, because the world doesn't fail to provide us weird things. So, because I work with couples, like I've seen couples through their dating, through their marriage, through family, because life happens, different things happen. And you want to make sure that you're able to be there with them. So, if they're coming to you because they're having trauma, and you're seeing that light bulb go off on they're recognizing something that happened and it's aiding them in taking the next step forward. I think that's how we all view success. Success is also just a client walking in the door. The first phone call is really hard. It's really hard to call somebody and say, I need help. And then on top of that, you have no idea who this human is. I explain to clients, it's like Cinderella. You need to find the one that fits. When they come in, if they feel like, okay, this is a person I feel connected with, and they build on that therapeutic relationship, so much can happen. There are different ways to gauge success. I wouldn't say it's just one.
So let's drill down on that. How do you help clients who are hesitant or afraid to start therapy? How do you make them feel safe for their first session? Find the right therapist?
I validate for them that I might not be the fit for you. So if I have a client coming in that I'm telling them like, it might not be me. I explain a little bit about who I am, my personality, how I behave with clients. I am very blunt. I'm very straightforward. And there are some clients that's way too much for. And that's completely okay, because sometimes that can be too much when you're coming in with a lot. But that's why we have a variety of therapists with different personalities. And the biggest thing is validating for a client that you might not connect with the first couple of therapists that you meet, but that doesn't mean you stop looking. You look around until you feel like you're the human. You're the one I want to share my whole life with. And I think that's fantastic. And you see so many amazing things happen when you find that person, because there can be a conflict in the therapy session. And when that client feels comfortable enough with you, they can bring that to your attention. Like, oh, hey, when you said this, I didn't like the way that landed. And you're able to talk about it.
How is counseling in real life different than we see it in TV and movies?
Oh, God. TVs and movies, they solve everything in 3.5 seconds. There's this weird epiphany that just comes out of nowhere. And they're like, oh my gosh, I have solved your life. And they only have one problem. I think the difference is there's such a deeper connection. When you see therapy and film, the client is always happy to be there. They know they need to be there, and everything just magically goes smooth. As opposed to the ooey gooey part in the beginning, the building the relationship. That's the fun part, because they're trying to decide, do I like you? Are you a psycho? Can I tell you my deep, dark secrets and feel safe with you? As a client, you should be doing that. You should be assessing your therapist to say, is this my person? And the therapist needs to feel that connection as well. The therapist needs to feel like, I feel like I can really make an impact. I feel like we're getting along really well. This looks like it's going to be a good relationship. So I think, like most things in TV, they just make it look really simple,
Sure.
really simple, as opposed to recognizing that healing can be hard. Healing can be so hard. Because again, we live in a world where you shove things down, you suppress your feelings. Then all of a sudden you're talking to somebody who's bringing you face to face with all of those feelings you've been avoiding. And that can be uncomfortable. And all of a sudden you'd be like, I don't want to do this. No, I quit. I don't want to. And then, all right, I'm fine. Thank you. And so then we even come in with a concern and start maybe not sharing everything that we need to share. There's a fear this stranger is going to judge me, which is why therapy is so great. Like I explain to people, I'm like, I'm your paid secret keeper. I am paid to shut up. I am not allowed to tell people about your private life. Whereas, like your friends and your family, they have an expectation of you. They have an idea of who you are and they expect you to stay in that. Whereas this person doesn't know you and they don't have an expectation of you. So there's a freedom in that. And then you can come in and you can be like, here's my everything. Help me sort it out.
What are the latest trends in counseling and mental health services, and how are they impacting your organization?
I'd say now there's a big swing for in-person sessions. There was a
Mhm.
huge swing for telehealth. And I think that depends on your population. Kids, they need to be in person. They're over virtual, they don't want it. But the bonus with telehealth for adults is they'll sneak it in on their lunch hour. They'll go out to their car, they will have their therapy session, knock everything out, and still be good. So I'd say right now there's a big trend in people seeking out EMDR because there's more awareness being brought to the trauma. And a lot of PCPs, your general practitioner, are referring their patients out to get EMDR treatment. So it's becoming more well known, which is really powerful because it helps to shatter that stigma.
Specific to Lorain County, what challenges or opportunities do you see related to mental health services?
It's access. We are doing everything we can to make sure that we're available to people. We show up at events to let them know, hey, we're available. You're not alone. Fighting the wait list. Everybody hates that. When you make that terrifying phone call and then you're like, okay, I need help. And then they tell you like you're on the wait list for 3 months and you're like, "Ugh, we hate it. I hate the wait list. Nobody on our team likes the wait list. We do everything we can to try to make sure that we have providers available so that when somebody's calling in that they can get seen as soon as humanly possible.
What is something people don't normally know about Phoenix that you'd want them to know?
That we also care about our clinicians. That's one of the things I'm really proud of with the Phoenix. I have worked at places before where they've got things like productivity. And the biggest thing with the Phoenix is we want our clients clearly to be happy, taken care of, questions answered. But we also want that for our therapists because I think we all know we've all worked at jobs that you go in and you're like, why is this my job? We don't want that to be the place for our clinicians. So we do things like quarterly events so that we have an opportunity to hang out and see each other aside from just work. It builds a stronger relationship. And then when you're building a stronger relationship with clinicians who have different skills than you do, that in turn sharpens your skills. It allows us to function because we are just better when we're together. That's one of the things that we really stick with is that we are better together. And if we are leaning on each other for help, or, hey, how do I handle this situation? Or what's your recommendation? This client really needs this. What can I do to try to help them out? You're just stronger and then you're able to provide better care.
What's a general piece of advice you would share with individuals or families going through emotional turmoil?
Call for help. You're not alone and you are not the only one. The whole shove it down mentality, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, it's not real because it causes harm. It would be super awesome and we'd all be unemployed if we could just etch a sketch our problems and
Mhm.
shake them and make them go away. But the reality is, when something has harmed us, when something has affected our relationship, our family, our emotions in some way, it's causing an impact. If you've ever, because I'm sure we all have, snapped at somebody and you're like, "Oh, that was not meant for them." When you're carrying stuff, the body's not meant to hold on to all of that. And that's how it comes out. When you see panic attacks, when you're seeing anxiety attacks, the body is carrying more than it's supposed to be carrying. There is zero shame in reaching out for help. But again, HIPAA. Nobody has to know you're in therapy unless you tell them. We are not allowed to advertise. Here's our client list. Reaching out for help is so important because everything's connected with mental health. You'll see weight gain, weight loss. You'll see issues with your bowels when you're having anxiety, but people don't give enough attention to how the emotion, the strain, the stress of life can physically impact our bodies.
Let's switch over and talk a little bit about you. What's your background and what led you to starting the Phoenix?
Okay. My background, I did my undergrad at Malone in psychology. I got my degree in clinical mental health counseling from Ashland Seminary because they have a 98% success rate of their students passing the boards. I was pretty excited about it. It worked. I was like, yes, good job. Opening the Phoenix, I always knew I wanted to open my own practice. My father was a surgeon and he had his own practice. So I grew up watching him run his practice and I loved it. His staff was family. He cared about them. I remember him going to bat for them if they needed something. And I also remember, and I didn't know it then, but now it makes a lot of sense. I remember him yelling at insurance companies on the phone because an insurance company would challenge his diagnosis. And he's like, let me see your degree. And it was fantastic. He had a belief in making sure people were taken care of. And that was something that I definitely learned from him. And that's something that I model the Phoenix after. And I love it. I always knew right off rip that I was going to own my own practice. Went to school, did my internships, worked at practices, and then it was time to start.
In the time that you've owned the Phoenix, what are you most proud of accomplishing?
I'd say one of the biggest things I'm really proud of is the team. There are people that come in and punch a clock, and then there are people that join the Phoenix and the mission. There are ups and downs in running any type of business. There are things that get in the way. There are so many fun loving hurdles. But when you have a team that supports you and believes in the mission that you have, that's a game changer. It's so powerful to have people on staff who are like that. And it just feels like you're gathering this amazing crew of people who have the same belief as you do. And it's so much fun. It's really great. Of course, accomplishing every hurdle that comes our way, because like I said, those never stop, never, ever stop. And your head is always on a swivel. But I'd say that's the biggest thing that I'm proud of is having a really solid team.
Going forward, what are your goals and what would you still like to accomplish?
I told everybody that I want to take over the world. So I want Phoenixes everywhere, but I don't know if I have the bandwidth for that, to be honest. I'd say the biggest thing right now is to continue to make an impact where we are. All of our shared goals are to shatter the stigma. We do everything we can to try to let people know, like, you are not alone. And so many times this world can make you feel alone. It can make you feel like your thoughts, your struggles, that you're a bad person or you're whiny or whatever for having the thoughts and feelings that you're having. Just helping people to realize that is a flat out lie and it's not true. And you're not alone, and reaching out for help and just being able to talk to somebody that you don't know is an awesome thing.
Who guides or inspires you the most in the work you do?
I have a really tight group of friends that have been with me through everything, helped me paint the office, helped me like screw on the doors properly, but also have helped me process a lot of things because when you have a good group of people, you have different characteristics and I can lean on them. And that's great. I'd say the biggest inspiration that I had was my father, and he stays with me. And there are so many times I wish I could just talk to him, let him see what's happened. He would have a lot of funny comments. He definitely shaped it, but I'd say the support system that I have right now, they're the role models. They help keep me grounded so that we can dream big together. They can help me think of things that I didn't think of on my own. It's pretty awesome.
Outside of work, if you have any time, what are
Oh,
your
God.
hobbies and interests and how do they help recharge you?
Actually recently had this conversation with somebody and I was like, sleep. And they're like, sleep isn't a hobby. I was like, oh, but it is. I also dance. So I took up ballroom dancing, which I love. I did not realize that I was going to love it as much as I do, but it was great. I remember the one day I was at a dance lesson and I got this ridiculous phone call that I was like, there is a whole rage monster inside of me right now. And my dance instructor was great. And he took me by the hands and he's like, okay, we need to stomp this out. And then he like incorporated a dance where we were literally stomping because it's like you have all of that energy inside of you. And he was just helping me find a way to release it. And I was like, this is pretty free. I love it. Hanging out with friends because I love to laugh. My favorite laugh is the one where you just can't breathe and you're cackling and tears are streaming down your face. But yeah, being around good friends, dancing, and then whenever possible, sleep.
Finally, where can people get more information on Phoenix Counseling Center and connect with you?
Our website and our socials. So we are on Facebook, Twitter, and or X, whatever you call it, Instagram, and our website, which is www.myphxcenter.com.
Thanks, Shaina, for joining us and sharing your insights.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the LoraineCounty.com Insights Podcast. Each episode, we share conversations with the people shaping life in Lorain County, from business and government to education, nonprofits, healthcare, and entertainment. Be sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. You can also visit LoraineCounty.com to discover local events, volunteer opportunities, and more community resources. If you know someone who's making a difference in Lorain County, send us a note at podcast@loraincounty.com. We would love to share their story and insights. Special thanks to our producer, Leah Gerke, and to you for listening. This has been the LoraineCounty.com Insights Podcast, conversations with the people shaping Lorain County.